Which of these cozy, translated from Japanese books with cats on the cover is the right one for you? Obviously, I think that you should read all 3 of these. This turns out, my new favourite genre. It's a growing niche. All of these books are delightful, and I bet you've seen a lot of people talking about one or all of these books, but I'm here to tell you where to get started. I'm going to tell you everything that these books have in common, what makes them so beloved. I'm also going to tell you everything that sets these books apart so that you can choose your perfect read. If you go over to our Instagram at BookBreak UK, you can see the full Venn diagram that I'm about to talk you through. You can see that posted on our Instagram. I will also put the link in the description box below so that you can go straight to it and find it, and that will break down for you which is the right book. But if you want more detail, I'm going to talk you through it. Again though, can I reiterate, I think you should read all 3 of them. Look how nice they look as a little set. So let's see if I can remember how to draw a Venn diagram. They say it is a sign of genius if you can draw a perfect circle, and I think it is clear I am not that. Okay, that's going to do. This is the base of our Venn diagram. We're going to start with Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, arguably the book that kicked off this whole trend, or elevated this whole trend, because this has been a massive, massive bestseller. Okay, I slightly went off the edge of the screen there, but the keyword you can see is coffee. This is Before the Coffee Gets Cold in this circle here. So Before the Coffee Gets Cold is the first book in a series, book number 5 of which is coming out this September. So this is an ongoing series that you can really dive into and keep going the more and more you enjoy it. It is set in a couple of different cafes in Japan. So the main setting is a cafe called Cafe Funicular, it's a tongue twister, which is in Tokyo, and looks just like a regular small little tucked away cafe, but it has one key difference. It has one chair in the cafe that people can come to and sit in that one chair, and it will help them travel in time. I'll link below to a couple of other videos that I've made about this book and this series where I dive into more detail about the rules of how it all works, because there are a lot of rules which makes it a lot of fun. But the key rule that you have to remember is that when you travel in time from this magical chair, which by the way you can only sit in when the ghost that usually sits in it has got up to go to the loo, you can travel in time, but you have to come back to the present before your coffee gets cold. Hence the title of the book. It's very, very important. So the book is made up of 4 different little stories of people who come to the cafe to travel in time for different reasons, the people that they want to meet, the past guilt that they want to make up for, the sadness that they want to come to terms with. It's very beautiful, very moving. Get the tissues to the ready. People sob their way through these books, including me, and I'm not even a crier, but I've cried a lot at this book and all of its sequels. And each book in this series introduces different characters and has more and more little stories of the different ways that they use the cafe to travel in time. Delightful. So that's one key thing I've said already about this book, which is that it has time travel in it, and it actually shares that quality with one of the other books. The Lantern of Lost Memories by Sanaka Hiraji also has time travel, so let me tell you about this one. This book is set in a photography studio, but it's a photography studio that you only go to after you die. So the first thing that you see when you go into the afterlife is you wake up in this photography studio and you find that there is a photograph there for every day of your life. And you can spend as long as you need going through all of these memories, all of these precious photographs. And the man who runs the studio will turn them into a lantern, so you can pick your favourite photographs. He'll turn them into a lantern that you can watch and kind of relive the highlights of your life. So it's a really beautiful idea about what happens after you die. And once you've seen your life spinning past, you're then ready to move on into the afterlife. But there's one extra thing. You can pick one more photograph, your favourite photograph of all of them, and you can actually go back into it. So that's the time travel part coming in. You can go back and relive that memory. Again, the book is divided into little short stories, so you get to meet different characters and learn about their most precious memories and why those memories mean so much to them. And again, it's so moving. It's such a beautiful book. I loved seeing the very, very different lives lived by each of these people, and some of them might have a connection to the man who runs the photography studio, so he's an important part of the story as well. So one thing that's interesting about this book is it's set in a place that you can't find on a map. This photography studio only exists in the afterlife. And another place that you can't find on a map is the Kagawa Diner, which features in the Kagawa Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashiwai. Now this book is set in the land of the living. It does not have anything magical or supernatural about it, but the Kagawa Diner is not found on a map. It is not found, you can't just Google the directions to it. There's no easy way to get to it. They have one advert, they advertise in a paper which is very, very mysterious and gives you basically no hints. So the only people that ever get there really want to get there, and they have had to do some digging and find the right people to ask, and eventually they'll be given enough clues to find their way to the Kagawa Diner. And when they get there, they will be served some of the most delicious food of their life. I actually have another video on Book Break, which I will link to below, where me and one of my colleagues went to try out a meal that we thought was similar to what is described in the Kagawa Diner, and it was absolutely delicious. One of the best work lunches I've ever had. So I'll link to that below if you want to go and watch it. Food is a really big part of this book. You get lots of descriptions of absolutely delicious food. In fact, that's so important, I'm going to write that down. Oh, I forgot to label these circles. I'm going to do that now. So, delicious food, but that's not all you will find in the Kagawa Diner. You'll also meet a father-daughter duo of food detectives. So they run a business out of this diner where you can come and talk to them about a specific meal that you remember eating and that you have never been able to recreate or never been able to find it again. And you describe as much as you can about that memory, and they will then go away and do their detective work and figure out what it was that you ate. And then 2 weeks later, you can come back to the diner and they will serve you that meal. And then once again, you get to read all these delicious descriptions of food. Make sure you have some food near you before you read it, because it will make you really hungry. And again, this book is really moving and really beautiful, because everyone's reason for attaching significance to their particular meal is always about more than just the delicious taste. There's always some emotional significance, and the Kagawa Food Detectives help them figure out what that is, and through recreating the perfect ingredients and bringing that memory back up to the surface for them, they help them realize something about why that memory is so special. So again, a really emotional book and a delicious book. And that kind of brings us full circle of our connections, because it's set in a cafe, which is the same as Before the Coffee Gets Cold, okay? So we've got something in common for all of them. And the Kagawa Food Detectives is, again, the first book in a series. The second book is due out in October this year. So let's fill out the rest of the diagram. And I haven't left myself very much room for this bit in the middle that they all have in common. But the key things that they all share: they're all translated from Japanese. They are all under 250 pages. And they all have a cat on the cover. Now, while the cat is adorable on the front cover of Before the Coffee Gets Cold, the cat is not actually a character in the book, but a cat is a character in the other 2 books. Both The Lantern of Lost Memories and the Kagawa Food Detectives have a cat. We talked about how the Kagawa Food Detectives has delicious descriptions of food. In Before the Coffee Gets Cold, you get lovely descriptions of the smell of the coffee. And the specialist subject of The Lantern of Lost Memories is photography, so you get lots of descriptions of different cameras and photography styles. Both Before the Coffee Gets Cold and The Lantern of Lost Memories have an element of magical realism. There's the time travel element, obviously. Before the Coffee Gets Cold also has a ghost, and The Lantern of Lost Memories is obviously set in the afterlife. Both the Kagawa Food Detectives and The Lantern of Lost Memories are about recreating specific special memories. And something fun that you get in Before the Coffee Gets Cold is a whole cast of very eccentric series regulars. And a lot of these regulars are family. Both Before the Coffee Gets Cold and the Kagawa Food Detectives are set in a family-owned business. In the Kagawa Food Detectives, of course, that is the father-daughter duo. In The Lantern of Lost Memories, you get to play the detective, because if you're paying attention, you'll find there are lots of different puzzle pieces that all fit together by the end. And in the Kagawa Food Detectives, you'll find there is a hint of a romance. I've already mentioned that something all of these books have in common is they're made up of little short stories. And I've run out of room in the middle here for something key that they all have in common. These books will all make you cry. Trust me. Prepare yourself. All 3 of these books fit into a genre called healing fiction. These are books that make you cry, not because they're sad, although they can have very, very sad moments, but because they are so heartwarming. They are emotional, but ultimately uplifting. They are books that might shatter your heart, but then piece it back together again. They're cozy and delightful, and these books will make you feel things. So hopefully this Venn diagram has helped you get your head around which of these 3 Japanese healing fiction books are the perfect book for you. As I said, do click the link below to go and find this Venn diagram over on Instagram, where you might be able to read it a little bit more clearly. And if you have any more questions about any of these books to help you decide which one to read, do leave a comment below and I will answer all of your questions. I will link to a playlist here of all of the videos that I have made already about these books and these series to help you find out even more about them. And I really hope that you end up giving all of them a whirl, because I think this is such a delightful genre. And I'll see you next time.